Welcome everybody to our Monday night Zoom class where we're going to look at being able to empower you more with some education. Tonight we'll be focusing on supporting your structural system with SolleFlex PI. And I hope when we're done here, you guys will understand why I absolutely love this formula so much. And as always, my passion is to empower people through education, to take charge of their health so that you can start to figure out and recognize some of the things to be able to do to take charge of your health and not feel like you have to turn or to the person next to you or make a phone call, but that you know what steps to take to move forward. So we're going to start right out of the gate here with a testimony from Chris Hedrick. Let's move this through here. There we go.
Hi guys, Chris Hedrick here, and I'm going to tell you my testimony for the SolleFlex PI. I have the start of arthritis in my joints, in my hands, and in some of my knuckles. And when I take the SolleFlex PI, in most cases I take three times a day, and the inflammation goes away. I end up pain-free. It's fabulous. It's my one work wonder, and I've replaced all the ibuprofen that I lived on when I was playing ball all the time with this product. And I'm turning around for you. If you haven't tried it, you're missing out. Aches and pains, no longer have back pain. I absolutely love it. Message me, talk to Valerie, talk to whoever invited you to this video, and find out more about this because you need it in your tool bag.
I think most of us that have used the SolleFlex PI can understand exactly what she's talking about. So to focus a little bit more and understand why the SolleFlex PI works so well, first of all, you need to understand that PI stands for pain and inflammation. So inflammation, we want to talk about the differences in it. So acute inflammation is going to show up. I mean, we know like if we injure ourselves right off the bat, we can recognize that. But it also will show up with heat in an area, pain, redness, swelling, or loss of function. Now, when it goes to chronic, that's going to mean that it's been around longer. But what's interesting to me is a lot of people don't realize how inflammation can shift on and to show up in different ways. Obviously, we're familiar and expect the body pain, but also chronic fatigue and insomnia. How many people would have realized that you get enough inflammation that can happen? Depression, anxiety, mood disorders, any type of gastrointestinal issues, weight gain, frequent infections is another one that people don't realize that they can be tied to chronic or long-term inflammation. Memory challenges. How many of you create new words when you talk? Or you walk to the refrigerator, open it up, and you find the car keys? Or, you know, some things people accept as going with aging. I'm not of the belief that you have to accept that certain things come with the aging. Yes, we do have to recognize that we cannot control that we're getting a year older as time passes. But when we come in and support the body so that it can heal like it was designed to heal, a lot of these things that people typically accept and is going with age are actually things we can do something about. Another thing that comes with chronic inflammation is accelerated aging, so skin and wrinkles. A lot of people are familiar and aware that when I was 17, I broke my back. I had a stallion rear up that I was riding, went over backwards and landed on me. They actually told my parents that I would never walk again. I'm so gracious and thankful that my parents did not tell me the diagnosis until I was 33 years old and had a back issue. And there's a whole story tied with this, but at that point is when I found out. So when I look back at some of these different issues with the inflammation and where the back broke, yes, we challenged it all through lifestyle changes, chiropractic work, things like that, and working with a naturopath. But when it would flare later on, you know, with having 6 children, it wasn't uncommon for it to flare. And I was a pretty hard worker. I'd get there and do things. You know, it could set me down. I would be set back for a couple of days, if not a week, if that flared up. This is one thing that if I throw my back out, pull it, I can go take some SolleFlex PI and then maybe take 4 and then maybe 2 like every hour or every 2 hours, put some ice on it, alternate with that and putting on, you know, depending which blend, sometimes, lots of times it is the contentment blend, or it might be the balance, and then come back and ice again. And by the next day, I'm up and running. That is amazing for someone who's broke their back, for me to be able to do that. So I thought it would be really good to look at some of the documented dangers and side effects from the NSAIDs. So your non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs here, because so many people are reaching for an over-the-counter fix here. So one which is already up here because apparently I missed one when I did on my screen, anyhow, headaches. So a lot of people don't realize with long-term use of using some, you know, your ibuprofen or, you know, your Tylenol, things like that, that you can end up with what's called rebound pain. So you can end up, or rebound effect, end up with that headache. You can end up with increased risk of heart failure. This is actually one of the top things. There's research from a British medical journal that shows that the incidence of that goes up 19% as a documented danger from using NSAIDs. Gastrointestinal stuff. There's so many people that have destroyed their stomachs, or they start having stomach issues when they're taking these painkillers or anti-inflammatories on a regular basis. You're higher risk of renal failure. When Troy was so sick at the beginning of the year, and the amount of drugs that they poured on him, into him when he was in the hospital, and I had to stay on top of them because of he does have some other kidney stuff. You would not believe the stories we have here, but there's a whole story there tied with a giant 2-liter size cyst that we ended up having removed off of him as a result of a bounty hunt that he did, where he turned around and found himself in a meth lab. Who has these kind of stories? But anyhow, so we have to be very careful of the drugs that they use for him. So this is one of the top side effects or documented dangers with long-term use of these, or high dosages, or like what they were doing to him in the hospital. Of course, we always have to deal with the possibility of allergic reactions. Constipation is another one. I can't tell you how many times people had walked into my shop where they have been on long-term opioids, long-term anti-inflammatories, any of these, and their bowel stops moving. Well, that creates a whole cycle of affecting the thinking, creating more pain, even the straining because the bowel's backed up, and think about how that ends up affecting and creating more pain. Decreases your appetite. We'll watch people lose massive amounts of weight because they simply lose their appetite because of the amount of these type of drugs that they're taking. So we have constipation, or we can have diarrhea. Diarrhea can actually be a sign of constipation for those that don't know, to where everything is backed up enough that all that can happen is that the fluid can get around. Dizziness. Then we have heartburn. Lots of times after dealing with the medications for some time, it messes up the digestive tract. And if you think about it, where we looked at ulcers, gastrointestinal damage, this kind of makes sense and shouldn't come as a surprise. You can even affect your blood pressure and end up with high blood pressure issues. Maybe those that you didn't have before, or you have them as a result. And keep in mind too that pain can cause that on its own as well. Leg swelling. That's coming back into kind of similar maybe to the high blood pressure, because this disrupts the balance between sodium and potassium in the body, and that can create swelling in the legs. And depending on which leg is swelling can tell you actually which is out of balance. Liver problems. The liver is one of your most overworked organs in the body, and it has to process all these meds. Nausea, rashes, ringing in the ears. Isn't that interesting that that could be a side effect? And of course, we talked about stomach pain and then vomiting. So I don't know about you, but I really would like to bypass having, to worry about people being at this type of risk. I know that when I was in high school, well, I'd say about 8th, 9th grade is before we converted how we did all of our health issues. I would have such severe issues with my cycles that I would end up having to go home. And that was one of the things that, would be handed out was all the Tylenol at that point. And so I'm so glad that for my daughters that we didn't have to do this, because I knew other options. So I want to share real quick a little bit about the SolleFlex PI. On the left there, you can see the different herbs and plants that we have in here. But some of the 5 key benefits here that we have with these is anti-inflammatory. So, and then I forgot that was on there. It was right there for menstrual cycles. I have had many young women that really enjoy the results and pain relief and bloating relief that they get with using the SolleFlex PI when on their cycle. It actually works with stress. The magnolia bark that is in there is very good at helping with the body to work with stress. It helps to calm the body too. It's very high in antioxidants, and it also supports the colon tissue. But there's lots of other benefits as well. These are just some of the 5 key benefits. So at this point, I would like to ask Deb Perez-Cockburn to unmute herself, and she's going to share with us about SolleFlex PI and how she has used it for herself. Thank you, Debbie, for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I have a background kind of like Val's, only I don't have an office or anything where I see people, but 30 years working in the herbal field, I guess, kind of qualifies me. And I can tell you that I had numerous surgeries on my knees, and I had my shoulder done twice because I was a little bit of a daredevil for the other company I worked for. And once I got thrown from a horse doing a video for a convention in Dallas. After that, after that, I had to have my shoulder and my knee done again. And before that, I was a daredevil again for the same company, and took a bunch of inexperienced people to go snowmobiling, and 3 of them just kind of panicked. And one snowmobile went over the embankment. Obviously, the manager jumped off before she did that. But then our CEO at the time decided he'd come to the rescue, and his snowmobile was just pretty much in the middle of the road. We were coming back. It was after 5. If you've been on the slopes, and you know it gets icy after 5. So you can have the skiers and everybody come down the mountain and the snowmobilers and not have any problems unless the sun's already going down. Then everything starts to freeze over. So here I am. I'm coming around the curve. I'm the last one. There's a bunch of managers or customers standing around on the curve, including the CEO. I had 2 choices. Bowl them over like bowling pins. Not an option. I didn't want to be the girl who killed the CEO. Or I could go over the embankment too, and hopefully I could jump off in time, or I could slam my snowmobile into the wall of the mountain, which is what I did. Snowmobile came back onto me, pinched out my shoulder, ripped out the tendon right across from the rotator cuff across the clavicle, and busted up my knee. So that's where all those surgeries came from. So that gives you the little bit of background. Nobody tells you when you're young, and 40 is young, 30 something is young, all these silly things. Nobody tells you that if you have a minor surgery to fix the meniscus, or they cut too much out, or they fix your shoulder 1 too many times, that you not only ruin the tendon, you ruin the joint, they put pins in, and that you will have pain for the rest of your life. Nobody really prepares you for that. So I had used every herb under the sun to manage pain, to manage inflammation. I was still feeling very depressed because chronic pain causes depression and anxiety. On top of that, I still had to travel and do my job, which was a highly stressful job as it was anyway. So fast forward to 7 years ago, I retired from that job. I was in very, very bad pain. People who knew me back then know that I was barely walking. I've always been that Puerto Rican girl that loves to wear the high heels, loves to dance, and it didn't matter how much pain I had to wear those shoes. So I did, and inevitably, I'm sure I've caused more damage to my joints. You can tell this is the only finger that really curved. It started getting painful about 3 years ago. I don't feel the pain in there anymore. None of the other fingers have curved. So that arthritis with the SolleFlex PI has actually stopped. But that's also because, you have to really change your diet when you have arthritis and stuff like that. And if you're trying to manage pain, then you really do what is required, because being in pain is no fun. And I can tell you that using SolleFlex PI, and Val used on me the last time we got together was about a year ago at this time. Right. And you could probably tell the difference in how I was walking. I actually managed to do close to 16,000 steps a day while I was at convention, which is pretty phenomenal. If you actually saw how deformed my knees look, they are literally bone on bone. There's bone spurs in there. There's no meniscus left in there, nothing to cushion between the patellar joint, and so it's, when I wake up in the morning, it goes clack, 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 and then, some bone spurs move out of the way. I might be a little stiff, but I'll tell you my secret how I combat that too. And this week, I don't know if I like the changes that I've made, Val, and I've been doing our, in my group, in the Spanish group, we have a little system. So I've kind of weaned myself from a lot of things, but I've been doing a detox, a lymphatic detox. And I can feel the difference just using the SolleFlex and the fiber and the Soul Vital. So it's
excellent.
Been amazing. And SolleFlex has really changed the way I walk, has really changed the way I manage pain. And my little trick that I do at nighttime is I take 3 to 4 Vertizymes on an empty stomach. And I always take my probiotic at that time too. But I will take 3 SolleFlex PI when I take that Vertizymes at nighttime on my empty stomach with my Renew. And then in the morning, first thing I do when I get up is I take, again, a few more enzymes and the SolleFlex. I go on my walk, I drink my water, I play with my dogs or whatever, and then I get ready for the day. Then I have breakfast and have the other supplements. But I am a firm believer that using adaptogenic herbs to manage pain is the miracle or the wow factor. So people who've actually had pain, some of my nieces, and I don't know what it is, hereditary deficiencies, because you don't inherit a disease, you inherit the deficiencies. Right. And the tendencies. We've had a lot of problems with the menstrual cycles. So ovarian cysts, ovarian cancer, cancer of the cervix, extremely, my case was severe scar tissue known as endometriosis. It was so bad. I would completely infertile, never knew it. So it just hardened up my uterus since I was a little girl. So, and I had the same problem, Val, the severe cramping and the severe flow. I would have to be sent home from school, and it was pretty embarrassing. And then you'd go home and the pain was so bad, you crawl, you couldn't walk. So I have nieces that had suffered that, and using SolleFlex PI, they have overcome that. And
wonderful.
Their diets a little bit too. So we've seen some really great results. And I mean, we could talk for hours, right, about all the wonderful benefits of it. But I really, really can tell you that having studied and been around herbs for so long and taught the natural health classes and written some of those manuals, I had never seen a formula quite like SolleFlex PI. I'm going to be 61 in a few months. Corona has taught me to be happy with no makeup. I never would have done that before, but I think someone said, it was Greg. Greg said, I remember how much pain you were in. And I think that physically you look so much better and you walk so much better. And I can tell you feel so much better. My doctor, when I was 40 years old, wanted to replace both my knees back then. I saw a doctor recently. He said, hey, the only thing I can do is make you some custom made knees. And I thought, no, because while I can still walk, I won't do it. So I walk, there is pain, but it's not debilitating or completely infringed on my lifestyle. I mean, I can go shopping. I can do a couple of things. I don't dance the way I used to, and I certainly don't wear the high heels anymore, but that's more for my protection than the pain. I can actually wear the high heels to church and not feel pain.
Wow. I knew that you would have some stories, but this is even more amazing. Thank you so much. You and I both know that there's people that needed to hear what you just shared. Thank you, dear. I sure love you. So I wanted to focus on one of the herbs, only one that is in the formula, and noni is in there. Now, I was familiar with noni because the only surgery that I've ever had is I had an ACL graft, but 6 months before I had the graft, and again, another, only us kind of story, I got it in Taekwondo sparring my husband, who's 6'5", and what is hilarious is all he did, I went to do a roundhouse kick, and all he did was block it, and I snapped my own ACL. And I said, you could have at least let me feel like I was doing something. But anyhow, I walked on it for 6 months. And once I finally got it looked at, because my knee was bending backwards, and Troy said, I don't think you're going to be able to heal this with your herbs, honey. And I went in there, and it was hanging literally by a thread. And they're like, how are you not on any pain meds? Well, I was using the herb noni. And that is one of the herbs that I really responded to. And I know the properties of it. And I'm so excited that it's in the SolleFlex PI. And I just think it makes it all that much stronger. And it is just an amazing plant. And if you see some of the basics here, it's got a lot of very powerful antioxidants. It's got B vitamins and folate, which means it's going to help work with stress. And you know what? Pain causes stress. You've got some of your amino acids that are going to get in there and help support the body, fights inflammation. And this is just a synopsis of what this little herb can do. It helps with cellular repair. Research has shown that it works with pain. So it acts like an adaptogen. It has adaptogenic properties, and they believe it helps the body to be held in a state so it can heal. So again, just a little bit. This is only one smidgen of the power that is in this formula. So now I wanted to ask Tammy Peterson if she could unmute herself and share a little story that she has about SolleFlex PI.
Hello. So this is about my mother, who has been my worst client, of course. And we come just from a background of pain. My grandmother had 4 or 5 back fusions. My mom, by the time she hit 45 or 50, was already having issues. They told her she has fibromyalgia, and then later spondylitis, whatever that.
Ankylosing spondylitis.
Yes, okay. So she just is always in pain. I do hair. My salon's upstairs. And at one point around 2015, my mom, I was watching her walk up to my salon, and she could not hardly make it up the stairs. And at that point, she's about 64, 65. And she's super active. So I told her, I said, Mom, this is what you have to get. And you have to take it every day. So I got her Flex PI and the Vital. She won't do much, so I was real careful. I think maybe I did Cinnamate Vital and SolleFlex PI. I called her every day. Mom, did you take your stuff? Oh, not yet. Okay, I'm going to stay on the phone. Go take your stuff. So she did really good. She was really an obedient mom. And within a couple of months, she didn't notice, but I noticed she was going up to my salon with no problem. So pretty soon, I mean, she was just doing great. And back when they had told her she had fibromyalgia, she was depressed also. She just hit a wall. I would call it almost a breakdown between pain and emotion. And so at this point now, her pain is getting better. She's doing so much better. But like with a lot of people, they don't realize it. So about a year later, she's not ordering too much. And I'm like, Mom, are you doing okay? She's like, oh, yeah, I don't need anything anymore. I'm doing fine. I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm like, okay. Well, I think maybe 2 or 3 months later, she calls me up and she's like, could you order me everything again, please? I'm in so much pain. so, so now my mom, who's in the healthcare industry, I mean, natural healthcare, she's a reflexologist. She helps other people with pain. So now she's doing so good. And for her, it didn't take much. It only took, I think, maybe 2 a day. Now, for me, when I have sciatic issues, I feel like maybe you said it, you have to stay ahead of it. So I feel like you've got to hit it hard. For me, I've got to take like 5 Flex PIs. I'm not recommending this, but for me, 3 times a day for a couple of days. And then for me, that's what helps me, and then I can back off. But for my mom, she only needed 2. So as long as she maintains that, then she's really doing, she's even a full-time minister now. I mean, this is a woman who could barely walk 5 years ago. Now she's 71 and just doing amazing and happy. And so I'm just so proud of her. And I'm so glad she was an obedient mother. Don't tell her I said that. If any of y'all know her or see her, we never had this conversation.
Don't let her see the recording then.
She would be laughing. She would totally agree with everything I said.
Thank you, Tammy, so much.
You're
And
welcome.
you're spot on. When we listen to our body and we know how it reacts, some people really only need a very minimal amount. Some of us, I'm one of those people that I've always required massive amounts. I don't have what they call, I have a weaker constitution, and that's the difference. So it takes a lot more to make a difference for me. But it really does vary from person to person. So listen to your body. And I also, sometimes I think it's really beneficial, because I've had those experiences where people have run out of something and they don't realize truly the difference it's making until they've run out. And then they're pretty committed at that point because they know the difference it makes. So our next person to share is Angela Tink. So if you could unmute, my dear, and share, we would love to hear what you have to say.
Well, I'm excited about this one experience because it's been a while in the making, and it's a friend of mine who has experienced pain since early teenage years, and she's a bit older than I am now. So she saw the difference between how her parents handled situations that would come up health-wise. Her father took a very medical approach, and her mom preferred the more natural approach to things. And she saw such differences between the two. Her father ended up having several back surgeries, and each time it almost seemed like his recovery not only took longer, but the situation was worse. He ended up having 6, I believe, in total is what she told me. Her mom just chose a different path and would stick pretty naturally to things. So when issues came up or injuries, she preferred to go the natural way. And she just saw better results on this course. So, years go by. She's now had a car accident and a fall that created some back injury for her in her adult years. And so managing that, she just couldn't find the right herbal blend to help enough. So she was sort of forced into feeling like she had to take some of the over-the-counter stuff. And then eventually it got to the point where it was hydrocodone, and the other one she mentioned there with an L, I don't remember the name. But, they kind of band-aided the pain, but it would just come back almost with a vengeance. It allowed her to maybe do some movements, but then the pain would be worse. So she was actually bedridden. And this is up until about 1.5 years ago, would be bedridden throughout the pain through her back and just kind of have to deal with it until it decided to leave. And that's when I recommended to her trying the PI just to give it a shot. And she was a little bit skeptical, I think, because what is this little pill going to do that I haven't tried already? But I said, I just encouraged her that, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But there's been so many amazing experiences of people just trying it that, what is there to lose? So she said, okay. So she gave it about a week, and I hadn't heard anything from her. So I was like, okay, let me call and see what's happening. She was just in amazement at the relief that she experienced, because she was at a point where she could take her morning amount, and she was kind of figuring out what worked for her. First, she took both. She took the herbs, the SolleFlex PI, and then she was also kind of relying on that crutch of the over-the-counter stuff. And then she was like, I think I can do this like in the morning. And she found that she could go, 4 hours before she even had to think about reaching for something else. And that was sort of a light bulb moment for her that this was different than anything she had tried. And it's been 1.5 years now. And she has these flare-ups. She's in her 3rd one actually currently. And so this will be her 3rd time using SolleFlex PI during a flare-up. And she's figured out that she can, when she feels it coming, she can catch it. And she is no longer relying on the over-the-counter medications. She still has a bit of pain, but she's working through it. She's not bedridden. She's out in the pool exercising to stretch. She's living an active life through what used to put her in bed. And it's exciting to see that work for her and to hear her explain how exciting that is for her to have that experience and not be crippled with the pain and not feel stuck. She said that it was like a whoosh of herbal blend, and she now feels that she has hope and healing and she can move forward. So for someone to experience that, I get emotional because to know that people feel so stuck in pain and to look at the list of things that you express that people suffer with anxiety and depression, to have that light of hope is just an amazing thing to be able to see someone go through. So she's excited about it. She was happy to share that experience tonight. And I just encourage anyone who hasn't tried it to try it, because it might not work, but if it does, that could change everything.
Wow, thank you, Angela. And you're right, that's what it's about. We so much want these people, our friends, our family, the people important to us, we just want them to be able to go back and start experiencing life and being able to live life to the fullest. And so it just, yeah, wonderful. I'm so happy that she got the results that she did. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. So as you guys have seen before, I always come back and reference this disease tree and how our constitution is, like Debbie was talking about, our makeup and our things that we inherit. But then we also, our foundation, we're talking about what toxins are we exposed to, what physical traumas, like the breaking my back, what deficiencies because of the way that we're taught to eat, our lifestyles we inherit, what stressors, that all impacts and hits our, our body systems, and then what our expression looks like. So often when people are talking to you about pain and inflammation, they're talking to you because they've got these different things going on in the dis-ease tree, as in maybe they're dealing with the itises or the chronic fatigue or PMS, things like that. So, but what we do with Soul is we get in and we focus on those roots, and that's what gets in and helps make the difference. So that, as you can see the tree in the upper left there, that's what we're looking for. We want big, beautiful, healthy green leaves, a nice strong trunk, and the body or the tree being able to be healthy to its fullest. Most people know that whenever I started with Soul 8 years ago, we had a very limited amount of products. And so most people, I was using what is now called the Bella Health Package, these 4 items, which was the Cinnamate, the Vital, the ProBio IQ, and the Vertizymes, and that truly focused on those roots, and we were seeing amazing results. The Vital was helping target pH. It was working with stressors. It was helping to clean the blood. With the Cinnamate, we were seeing it work with the digestive tract and help to keep blood sugar levels in range. The ProBio IQ, the most impressive probiotic I have ever had in my life, and I've had tons of probiotics. That one I could tell a difference on, and it really does help with the thinking. And then the Vertizymes. As I age, and I'll be 56 here next month, our digestion is not as strong as when we were younger. And exactly one of the reasons that what Debbie is doing with taking the Vertizymes on an empty stomach with that PI and the ProBio is it's getting in and working on undigested food or toxins that are in the body. It's going out there and it does its job because it's not having to focus on the actual meal. It's very powerful. Dr. Mark Hyman has this great statement here. Inflammation is a hot topic in medicine. It appears to be connected to almost every known chronic disease. And that's why I think this is so important. People don't realize when we are taking a formula as simple as SolleFlex PI, because the way that it is designed with the adaptogens and the unique blends of herbs that we've done, it truly is getting into the root and working on some of the issues that are causing the pain. And so I think that's one reason people start to see more and more varied responses and results that they're getting with this combination. Truly, truly a powerful, powerful blend. So this is our youngest granddaughter. She is a hoot. She's just a blast. And to me, I put this quote here as we're ending up because it is so important that, you know, me as a grandmother, I want to be able to bend over and pick this child up and play with her and hold her. And so this quote is, "It is not death or dying that is tragic, but rather to have existed without fully participating in life that is the deepest personal tragedy." And yes, I'm taking a little bit twist on the interpretation of this quote, but for me, this is part of life. I want to be able to engage, and we have 11 grandchildren. I want to be able to interact with them, play with them, and be able to get down on the floor and get up off of the floor. And if you think about my personal past health issues with the broken back, with what they did some things, they kind of jacked up my knee surgery when they did it. But, you know, those things don't own me. They don't run my life. And yes, I've changed lifestyles, but one of the big components, major components, is being able to utilize the Soul products, which foundation is all based around the adaptogens and the adaptogenic properties, how they result in the stability of your health. So I want to give you a little bit of a glimpse into next week, next Monday night. We will be talking about renew and supporting the body in overwhelm. I've got some pretty neat information that we're going to share about that. So with this, I'm going to stop the share and see if anybody had any other added tidbits or information. This has been absolutely outstanding. I love the stories. Yes. Thank you, everyone. I hope you feel more empowered, that you got some more information in your arsenal to be able to share with people, talk to people, just because yeah, that's what I challenge you. Now you got a little more information. I challenge you to pay it forward and share it with at least one person in the next 24 hours that you think could benefit, because maybe something you learned tonight that you didn't know, or you all of a sudden went, oh, wow, so-and-so, I would love to see them not hurting so much anymore. So when we've been entrusted with this, that's why I believe our job is to pay it forward. So, and I'll stop talking. Anyone else have anything to share? Oh, go for it. Tammy, you don't have to raise your hand. You can just unmute yourself.
I wanted to touch on something. Gretchen has a client that really needs help with RA. And I know you touched on how disease mostly comes from inflammation. And so if we could just touch on a little bit of how this could help her with, you know, an autoimmune.
So here's the key. Number one is, believe it or not, we can help the body to heal. The body's designed to heal. So if we hand it the right things, the body knows what to do with it. You just have different expressions of when the body's out of balance. It shows up different for everybody depending on what's going on. So to me, I always am going to make certain that they're drinking water, that they're getting good sleep, that they're moving. Some people we're going to look at, you know, suggesting they eat cleaner, pulling grains, and grains are a big one I have found with the RA people, huge. But always I come into that foundation. I love the Vital, I love the Cinemate, the ProBio, and the Verdezymes, and that's just as a starting place. And people say, well, how can that work for all 10,000 different things? Well, it's because it expresses differently in everybody. We could teach an entire week on just what Vital does and barely scrape the surface. But again, we have to remember the body is intelligent. It knows what to do with it. It knows how to take it, and it will express it appropriately for that person. The same product, we could each take Vital and have a totally different result with it, but yet it was exactly what our body needed. Go for it, Debbie.
Oh, thanks. And I was going to say what you said. Oh, sorry. Rico was quiet the whole time. Now he decides to bark. I'm sorry. There's so much to be said for that Bella Health package. That's what you and I both started with. But there's also another package called the Initial Balance,
yes,
which all 4 of the drinks. So there's so much in our drinks, and our body is so smart, and adaptogens are just as smart. So they help your body adapt to the situation, and everybody is different. Like, so for me, I felt initial relief from pain, but it's taken me 7 years to find the right combination for me. And I have to tell you that some of these packages that Sol has put together with the help of so many specialists, they really make a difference. So if someone would actually commit to 30 days of doing a package, a program, to start feeling the difference, and they can stick with a different package or just a certain amount of supplements for at least 3 months, I know people will start to see big differences, because these products are like nothing else on the market. I mean, they are short of miraculous.
And I agree with you, Debbie, especially, I mean, the RA didn't start overnight. It's just they've become aware of it at some point. It became too much. So we always teach 3 months initially, and then a month for every year you've had the issue, not to get results, but to actually start to get into challenge and correct it. So what we need to do, in my opinion, is trust again that the body will know how to heal. Now, it can be overwhelming to someone when they go, oh my gosh, I've had this for, here I am going to be 56. I've had it for 55 years. No, we don't look at it that way. We just look at, say, you know what? I'm serious about making some changes. I'm going to commit to 3 months or this year and just start working forwards and just make it part of a daily habit. And if they're truly invested in wanting to feel better, because, pain gets old really, really fast. And so I guarantee you that they don't want to feel the way they do. And if they're ready to get better, they're going to do everything they can to get there. And this is something that can help to offer relief. Again, the body's designed smart enough to do it. We just have to be there to be encouraging. With people like that, I'm always checking in with them initially, like multiple times for the first couple weeks. And because they haven't taken this journey before. And lots of times we heal different ways than the average, everyone's taught to expect to heal. They're taught, you take this pill, you don't feel it in the morning. No, when we're going this way, it's a whole different journey. And so be there to walk with them through it. And if you don't know the answer, say, I don't know, but I know some people I can reach out to and get help with. To me, it's about being there with them in as much as you can. I know that I'll Marco Polo back and forth big time with my people, because again, it's that face connection. It's making sure they're not alone and making sure they know that there's no questions. Every question can be asked. If you can't tell, I'm really passionate about being there and supporting the person through it and not leaving them hanging and going, I'll check back in next year.
And you know what, Val, that tree, your tree, when you have so many itises like RA or regular arthritis or lupus, anything that ends with that sound, there you might have the pain is the thing that's screaming out to you the most.
Yep.
And just explain to the person that if they get on that program, the pain may not disappear overnight. It will dissipate, but because the adaptogenic herbs work so well, and because you have to go through so many layers to get to the actual root of the problem, sometimes some people will, what people experience immediately is that change of mood. They feel better. They feel really good, but they have to really stick with it because they have to get to the root. And sometimes getting to the root takes a long time.
Yes, a good point.
And that's often I'll have a person write down every single little symptom, whatever that they can think of. They put a date on it, and I make them put it up for it at least 30 days before they can look at it. And I'll also have them put a mark between 0 to 10 to how they're feeling next to it, because it's them gauging it. Then I have them go back and reevaluate, and they'll go, oh, well, I had this at an 8, and now I didn't think I was getting better, but it's really only a 5 now. And this little thing over here, it's gone. I didn't even know it left. Was because we're so focused on the thing we want gone the most. that we often miss the other benefits and what is happening. And so it's just about making them aware and letting them see that we're approaching health and healing in a different way than most people have been raised. And I do know my baby that's 30, when she was in like first grade, she wrote a story about, and it was a Christmas story. So it was about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer that went to see, my mother is an herbalist as well. So she went to see Grandma Rose to talk to her about, because had this cold and flu or whatever. And she had in this story written out my mother telling her the correct herbs to take. And so as she got a little bit older, she's like, Mom, I don't understand why so many people just jump in the car and run to the hospital for a stuffy nose or a headache. And I said, honey, you've got to understand, you had a different exposure to how to approach health. Yours was more empowering and learning how to think for basics. Yet she also knew that, you know, we had a broken leg. My herbs were going to fix that. I had to take them to get that set. You know, there's a balance for both. But you really do have part of the job in helping people is to educate them that this approach is different so that they understand the map they're working with.
Right.
So I hope that helps. Hope we didn't give you too much information.
I appreciate that you shared how important it is for her to do the package. I just today ordered for her a box of 100 Vital and a Soul PI.
Good.
And I told her, if you can commit to that for 30 days, then next month we'll talk about a package, because
Good.
she needs to start with the basics, and she's on a limited income, very limited income. So, but she's committed to doing 30 days of the Vital and the Soul PI. So, and
Excellent.
I know that she'll be able to see enough of a difference that will encourage her, like you said, to go deeper. I love that comment, Deb. When you have to go deep, you have to get to the root of the problem. And like you said, Valerie, it's going to take time to get to the root and commitment. So, yeah, I appreciate everything that everybody said. It was very encouraging.
Yeah. Excellent. And you know, it's funny, we talk about some of those things we don't expect. One of my clients has been with Soul from the beginning. She was the second person that I signed up. It was kind of interesting because she was raised in a home with secondhand smoke, but left all that behind. Well, one of the first things Vital started doing was her urine started smelling like an ashtray as the body was cleaning that residue out. Now tell me that stuff's not powerful doing that. So amazing. And
wow, that is incredible.
Isn't it though? It's just, and it's so
Yeah.
exciting. I mean, I've been around in this lifestyle and using herbs and everything for 42 years. And it was the last 8 years that I saw significant changes in my health. Yeah, it wasn't till then. You know, the other worked, but it wasn't a significant life change. And going back to that little bit I shared with Troy, he ended up with the cyst on his kidney. I mean, that was, you know, he did this arrest when he was bounty hunting because he's a bail bondsman. Turned around, he was in this meth lab. Literally it was almost a year that he was sick after that. He couldn't hardly do things. Well, we fast forward to 8 years ago. We were only 2 months into using the Vital. We did a test and it was able to determine, it actually showed there was still some meth in his system. So what I did is I started having him use a Vital every time he made a drink. So I said, you can't get enough of them. And within 3 weeks, I mean, oh my gosh, his sweat stunk. Everything was moving out. In 3 weeks, it no longer showed up on that scan. It was completely out of his system. And it had been years that it had been in his system. Again, these, you know, they're so different. It's like nothing I've ever seen. I am so excited about these products, and they really do support life changes.
You'll have to ask me another day, not today, about my kidneys and how Soul has helped.
Oh, I can't wait. Excellent.
Such.
Excellent. Oh, you guys, I know we can talk forever, and I love having this type of conversation afterwards. So thank you for everyone participating like you did and sharing. And I'll get this recording up tomorrow. It takes a little bit to get it converted and everything, and then I'll post it, and you can take it and share with it, and maybe someone else will get spoken to as well. Thank you, guys. I love you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Mwah. Have a good evening.
You
Love
Bye.
you all.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Nice to
Bye.
meet you.
Thanks again, Val.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye, dear.